Leaders lead and followers follow, right? Well, not always. Leaders and followers naturally play different roles in most settings and situations. However, they also have a lot in common. And transitioning from follower to leader is a natural process and not as complicated as many make it out to be. In this screencast, we'll highlight some leadership theories and set the stage for how leadership has evolved. Next, we'll discuss some of the key characteristics of both leaders and followers, and we'll finish with some strategies for transitioning from a follower to a leader. So getting things started with leadership theories will be Stephanie.
Today we're going to go over 5 leadership theories utilized in healthcare. The 5 that we have chosen to review are trait, situational, servant, transformational, and contextual intelligence. There are many more, but these are the 5 that were chosen for this particular project. The first one that we are going to start with today is going to be trait. The trait theory of leadership, generally considered the first modern theory of leadership, and became popular during the second half of the 20th century, and despite scholarly criticism has continued to be popular. The theory states that innate traits are common to leaders. Although the identified traits vary, the most common are intelligence, self-confidence, determination, integrity, and sociability, as described by Sherberg and Sherberg in the 2011 text Practicing Leadership Principles and Applications. The trait theory of leadership focuses on identifying different personality traits and characteristics that are linked to successful leadership across a variety of situations. This line of research emerged as one of the earliest types of investigations into the nature of effective leadership and is tied to the great man theory of leadership first proposed by Thomas Carlyle in the mid-1800s. Carlyle used such understanding to identify the talents, skills, and characteristics of men who rose to power. This ability to lead was something that people were simply born with, Carlyle believed, and not something that could be developed. Early studies on leadership focused on the differences between leaders and followers, with the assumption that people in leadership positions would display more leadership traits than those in subordinate positions. What researchers found, however, was that there were relatively few traits that could be used to distinguish between leaders and followers. If particular traits are key features of leadership, then how do we explain people who possess those qualities but are not leaders? This question is one of the difficulties in using trait theories to explain leadership. There are plenty of people who possess the personality traits associated with leadership, yet many of these people never seek out positions of leadership. An example of how you can apply some of the insights from a trait theory of leadership can be accomplished by thinking about 2 different questions. 1, what qualities do you value in leaders you respect? And 2, think about the qualities that you bring to leadership. The next theory is going to be situational theories. Situational theories propose that leaders choose the best course of action based upon situational variables. Different styles of leadership may be more appropriate for certain types of decision making. For example, in a situation where the leader is the most knowledgeable and experienced member of a group, an authoritarian style might be appropriate. In other instances where group members are skilled experts, a democratic style might be more effective. Situational theories was developed by Dr. Paul Hersey in the late 1960s and later emphasized by Ken Blanchard in the 80s. Hersey stated that a situational leader is anybody, anywhere, who recognizes that influencing behavior is not an event, but a process. As the name implies, leadership depends upon each individual situation, and no single leadership style can be considered the best. For Hersey and Blanchard, tasks are different, and each type of task requires a different leadership style. A good leader will be able to adapt his or her leadership to the goals or objectives to be accomplished. Goal-setting capacity to assume responsibility, education, and experience are main factors that make a leader successful. Not only is the leadership style important for a successful leader-led situation, but the ability or maturity of those being led is a critical factor as well. Leadership techniques fall out of the leader pairing his or her leadership style to the maturity level of the group. 4 leadership styles that are presented in this theory are telling, selling, participating, and delegating. This style evaluates the level of maturity and talent of the employees to determine the style of leadership the person needs to be successful. The next style of leadership that we're going to look at is servant. While servant leadership is a timeless concept, the phrase servant leadership was coined by Robert K. Greenleaf in an essay that he first published in 1970, The Servant as Leader. A servant leader focuses primarily on the growth and well-being of people and the communities to which they belong. While traditional leadership generally involves the accumulation and exercise of power by one at the top of the pyramid, servant leadership is different. The servant leader shares power, but puts the needs of others first and helps people develop and perform as highly as possible. Servant leadership is one of the more popular theories of leadership, especially among Christian leaders. Many researchers and theorists argue that servant leaders can become so focused on the needs of their followers that the needs of the organization suffer as a result. In any case, servant leadership theory has a place within the spectrum of leadership theory, as it represents the strongest emphasis on followers of any theory. Servant leaders get results for their organizations through wholehearted attention to their followers and followers' needs. Unlike many approaches to leadership, which offers suggestions on how top-level leaders can influence and motivate those further down the hierarchy, servant leaders puts its emphasis on collaboration, trust, empathy, and ethics. The leader should be a servant first, leading from a desire to better serve others and not to attain more power. The assumption is that if leaders focus on the needs and desires of followers, followers will reciprocate through increased teamwork, deeper engagement, and better performance. You are a servant leader when you focus on the needs of others before you consider your own. It's a longer-term approach to leadership rather than a technique that you can adopt in specific situations. Therefore, you can use it with leadership styles such as transformational leadership. One theorist, Larry Spears, outlined 10 characteristics of servant leaders by analyzing the writings of Greenleaf. The first one being listening, empathy, healing, awareness, persuasion, conceptualization, foresight, stewardship, commitment to the growth of people, and building a community. Servant leaders are likely to have more engaged employees and enjoy better relationships with team members and other stakeholders than leaders who don't put the interests of others before their own. To put everything into perspective, here's an example. Everyone on Sam's team knows that he's there for them. He checks in with them often to see how they are, and he helps them to develop the skills they need to advance their careers, even if this means that they may move on. Sam also makes an effort to see situations from others' perspectives. He makes decisions with the team's best interest in mind and ensures that everyone has the resources and knowledge they need to meet their objectives. As a result of this, his team is one of the most successful in the department with low staff turnover and high engagement. Remember that servant leadership is about focusing on other people's needs, not their feelings. Don't avoid making unpopular decisions or giving team members negative feedback when this is needed. Also, do not rely on it exclusively. Use it alongside styles like transformational leadership, where you develop an inspiring vision of the future. Motivate people to deliver this, manage its implementation, and build an ever stronger team. The next theory we have is transformational. Leadership expert James McGregor Burns introduced the concept of transformational leadership in his 1978 book, Leadership. He defined transformational leadership as a process where leaders and their followers raised one another to higher levels of morality and motivation. Bernard and Bass later developed the concept of transformational leadership further. According to his 1985 book, Leadership and Performance Beyond Expectations, this kind of leader possesses the following. 1 is a model of integrity and fairness, sets clear goals, has high expectations, encourages others, provides support and recognition, stirs the emotions of people, gets people to look beyond their self-interest, and inspires people to reach for the improbable. More than 25 years after Bass's book, transformational leadership is often argued to be one of the most important ideas in business leadership. An example of this would be of the following. Everyone respects Molly. Her team members are fiercely loyal and they're highly successful as individuals and as a team. By contrast, other leaders in the organization report that their people seem disengaged. They experience high staff turnover, and the results are often disappointing. So, what does Molly do that others don't? To begin with, she regularly reminds her team members of the purpose of their work, and she knows that she's a role model for her team. So, she demonstrates integrity in all of her working relationships. Transformational leaders inspire great loyalty and trust in their followers, just like we heard just a few minutes ago with Molly. They have high expectations and they inspire people to reach their goals. You can become a transformational leader by following these steps. 1. Creating an inspiring vision of the future. This means your vision sets out your team or your organization's purpose. 2. Motivating people to buy into and deliver the vision. Now you want to start sharing your mission statement. You need to appeal to your people's values and inspire them with where you're going to lead them and why. Use business storytelling as part of your call to action. This will help people appreciate the positive impact of your vision on the people you're trying to help. Managing delivery of the vision. Communicate each person's roles and responsibilities clearly and connect these to your plans. Everyone should fully understand what they're responsible for and know how you will measure their success. Next, set clear, smart goals for everyone, including some short-term goals that will help people achieve quick wins and stay motivated. Use management by objectives to link short-term achievement to your longer-term goals. 4. Building ever stronger trust-based relationship with your people. You need to focus your attention on your people and work hard to help them achieve their goals and dreams. Meet your people individually to understand their developmental needs and help them to meet their career goals. Keep in mind that to succeed as a transformational leader, you'll need to work on your own skills and set aside time and space for personal development. The last one that we're going to talk about today is contextual intelligence. Contextual intelligence is the ability to adapt or respond appropriately to different contexts, such as environmental factors and stakeholder values. This theory is not necessarily a leadership theory, but a combination of leadership skills that enhance leadership. Contextual intelligence was introduced by Robert Sternberg as a sub-theme of practical intelligence and is associated with tacit knowledge and wisdom gained from experience. This has been shown to be the best predictor of success in real-life performance situations. 3 recommendations on ways to implement contextual intelligence theories, as explained by Dr. Matthew Kutz, 2012, are as follows. 1. Reframing the experience. This means to critically appreciate the previous experience and determine what went well and what can be better implemented for the future. What was your mindset during the event? Would there have been a better outcome had you thought differently with the situation? 2. Learn to appreciate complexity. This means what doesn't kill you can also help make you stronger. Going through the experiences has given you a new encounter that will only strengthen future endeavors. And then 3. Think in 3D. Think holistically. What experiences have you had in the past, what the current situation holds, and what effect do you want on future outcomes? According to Kutz, 2012, there are several skill sets that serve as markers for contextual intelligence. The first one being multicultural awareness and sensitivity, diagnosis of context, critical thinking, and social responsibility. Making sure that you are going through and that you are thinking holistically once again throughout the whole process and making informed decisions as you move forward. From here, Jeff will discuss key characteristics of a follower and a leader along with why each are necessary as we move forward and looking at leaders and followers.
As Stephanie illustrated, there has been a definite evolution of leadership and what it looks like over many years. This evolutionary framework provides insight into the makeup or the DNA of good leaders. So in this segment, we'll address some of the key characteristics of leaders and compare them to the key characteristics of followers. And then we'll conclude the segment with a discussion on the importance of each role. All right, let's take a look at some of the key characteristics of leaders first. Now, this by no means is an all-inclusive list for either role, but it captures what we feel are some of the most vital attributes of each. Okay, number 1 on the list for leaders, all good leaders are vision and mission oriented. They start at the top of the pyramid and they work back from there. Everything they do is very purposeful and related to their vision or their mission. Next, all good leaders are skillful communicators. They seek understanding, they deliver clear, concise messages, and they seek to motivate and inspire others to be their best. Next up, good leaders are all self-aware. They understand their own strengths and weaknesses as well as those of their company or organization. And a result of this, all good leaders are also very collaborative by nature. They seek to strategically surround themselves with others who complement their strengths and weaknesses. And all good leaders are adaptable. They understand that change is inevitable and that challenges will be on their way, and that the old way of doing things is not always the best way. So they understand that behind every challenge is an opportunity for greatness. So they actually look for these challenges and appreciate them for what they are. Being adaptable also implies that good leaders are competent, creative, innovative, and thoughtful. And finally, good leaders naturally prefer others over themselves. They are humble, they act with integrity, and they seek to serve as they lead. Okay, let's take a look at followers. Good followers, like leaders, are committed to the vision and mission that has been set forth by the leader. They understand the greater purpose behind their roles and what they do day to day. Good leaders are also very supportive. They support and encourage their leader as well as the co-workers. They also are very courageous. Good followers, look to hold their leader and their fellow co-workers accountable. And they're also not afraid to speak up when the leader or the group of co-workers seems off path. Like their leaders, good followers are also very skillful communicators, seeking mutual understanding, being clear and concise, and presenting solutions to problems rather than just dumping headaches on others. And again, like leaders, good followers are collaborative. They understand the power of many great minds working together for one common goal. So again, this is not an all-inclusive list for either role, but a good representation of some of the vital attributes for each. And as you can see, there are some differences, but there's also a lot of similarities. So let's look at the role of each of the leader and the follower. We'll start with the leader. When you boil it all down, ultimately, the leader assumes responsibility for all the results, for whatever the product is. They are responsible for setting the cultural tone of their company or organization, and probably most importantly, the leader is responsible for creating and casting the vision, where they ultimately want to go, helping to identify what that top of the pyramid looks like. Okay, followers. Primarily, followers execute the plan that hopefully leads to the top of the pyramid. As well, they support their leader and the team. Now, although these two roles can be mutually exclusive, in many ways they are not. In fact, you cannot have one without the other. And many of the characteristics that make for a good follower also make a good leader, and vice versa. As well, most good leaders at some point started as a good follower. During the course of a leader's tenure, there are many, many times in which they are also playing the role of a follower. So this concludes our segment on the key characteristics of followers and leaders. We're now going to jump into some of the strategies for transitioning from a follower to a leader with Whitney.
Now that we have covered some leadership theories and qualities of good leaders, we are going to discuss some strategies on how followers can transition into leaders. Those strategies are making decisions and critically thinking, giving directions and being heard, collaboration, open communication, and integrating previous experience and knowledge. Making decisions and critically thinking. As Stephanie explained earlier, trait and great man theories hinge on the fact that leaders are born, they cannot be manufactured. As a follower, Natural-born leadership traits begin to develop with the help of good leadership examples and the proper encouragement to make decisions and critically think without codependence. The follower can begin to increase their self-confidence in making appropriate decisions and witnessing the beneficial outcomes from those decisions. In the field of healthcare, we see this as a novice strength and conditioning coach begins development of a hypertrophy workout for his assigned team. At first, they may need assistance from a more advanced, experienced colleague with determining exercises and progression in a team or an individual's periodization. As they witness leadership skills around them, their inherent leadership skills begin to develop either from witnessing good examples of leadership and following suit, or experiencing poor leadership qualities and knowing what they do not want to emulate. As their skills develop, they will begin to make decisions on their own and critically think without the crutch of having someone holding their hand. When they see the positive outcomes in their patients' muscle mass growth and strength gains, they will build confidence and continue to make appropriate decisions. Giving direction and being heard. Within situational leadership, the follower grows in both competence and commitment to the identified tasks. As competence increases, the follower can begin to give direction, instruction, or advice to individuals lacking adequate knowledge or proficiency for assigned responsibilities. Within athletic training, this is evident when a senior level athletic training student instructs or guides younger athletic training students during clinical rotations. The more experienced athletic training student steps up into being a leader for the younger, less experienced, less knowledgeable athletic training student with more novice or basic tasks such as taping ankles or ACE-wrap spikas. The senior student has the knowledge and the experience of developing and retaining the skills and also has the ability to give advice and critique to develop and enhance the younger student's skills. Collaboration. As a servant leadership style focuses on the growth and development of their society or group, collaboration is a great method for a follower to transition into a leader by leading conversations of ideas, creative thinking, and putting the group's needs before their own. In healthcare, it can be difficult to think selflessly in a group project, but asking for feedback from other healthcare professionals is an excellent way to create unity within the organization. This method of leadership may impact the personal deadlines of a potential leader, as they are depending on receiving feedback from others in a timely manner. Any delay from colleagues could result in last-minute or late submission of a task. However, a true servant leader disregards their personal performance and focuses primarily on the successful accomplishment of the organization. Open communication. Transformational leadership requires trust and confidence from their following. As a follower, a fluid method of transitioning in a transformational leader is to have open lines of communication with colleagues and management. Trust can be established with ample communication, whether that is through motivation, instructions on specific tasks, and management of organizational responsibilities, or building professional relationships. As Jeff discussed, a leader should be mission and vision oriented and should be able to motivate their followers to strive for the same. As a follower transitioning into being a leader, once they commit to the mission and vision of an organization, they can help inspire others to commit to the organization's goals. Integrating knowledge from previous experiences. Contextual intelligence relates to the ability of adaptation to situations and circumstances that might arise. As time, experience, and knowledge grow, it is important that a follower archives those moments to learn from in future situations. The old phrase of hindsight is 20/20 is critically important for the contextual leader. Once an individual has experienced a certain circumstance, it is important to appraise that situation with the strengths and areas of improvement. As a follower transitioning into leadership, although they may not be making the ultimate decisions, they can draw from their previous experiences and provide vital input when a similar state of affairs arises. For example, an assistant tennis coach may take note of various coaching strategies that are beneficial or counterproductive for their athletes. When athletes experience difficulties completing a drill, the assistant coach may go back and employ those strategies that have worked in the past. Stepping up and contributing with first-hand experience and knowledge is a great way for a follower to exhibit leadership abilities and can expand the knowledge of the group or the organization. We hope that you've enjoyed our presentation and that we've given you a little knowledge about the 5 leadership theories we chose, some qualities of good followers and good leaders, and some strategies for you to employ as a follower transitioning into being a leader.